Kia ora e te whānau. Welcome to this episode of Industry Insights. My name is Hannah Nansett. I am Projects Lead at the Institute, and I am really pleased to have both Blair and Kathryn Davies join me today for a special insight into the BIMSafe project. I'll hand it over to Blair to introduce himself, and then we'll head to Kathryn.
Kia ora, Hannah. Thank you very much. My name is Blair Collie, working for RCP as a Senior Project Manager. A little bit about myself, born and raised in Southland. I come up to Otago to study drafting, so that was back in early kind of 2000. Worked for architectural practices, structural practices, then went to a design build company. And in that design, I guess, niche, technology was always quite a passion for me, and so this just become a natural progression, I guess, being with RCP now for 5 years, and being able to have good conversations with the clients in regards to design, and now have good conversations in regard to health and safety with a design focus as well has been fantastic. So leading the ACC project in Otipoti, Dunedin. We are only months away now from completing our base build, so it's all getting very real, very exciting.
Thanks, Blair. And Kathryn.
Kia ora, Kathryn Davies. I'm a research fellow with the Building Innovation Partnership at University of Canterbury. So the Building Innovation Partnership is an industry-focused research group where we work with industry input, industry funding, but we have matched funding, or 40% funding from MB, so we can leverage whatever industry is trying to invest in and bring our expertise and a bit of money and make things happen. And that's how we got involved in the BIMSafe project. My background, I did a Master of Building Science at Victoria University, and then worked at Jasmax Architects for a while before heading off overseas and landing a research position at the Building Research Establishment just out of London, where I started working in the introduction of IT into the construction industry back in the day when Excel was revolutionary. So since then, when I came back to New Zealand, I've been teaching at Unitec for just over 20 years as a construction management lecturer. And 2 years ago now, shifted to the University of Canterbury, shifted employment, not location, because I'm in Canterbury but based in Auckland, yeah. And so when the BIMSafe project came up, that was absolutely in my wheelhouse, and I really jumped into working on that.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm excited to hear about Inception and how it all came together. But first, I just wanted to tell those who are online that this is an interactive webinar, so please put your questions through Slido. The code is 8828640, and you just have to go on the Slido website and just add the code in there. It's very, very easy. Yeah, so please send through your questions throughout. To kick things off, I think for those online who may or may not know about the BIMSafe project, let's kick off with a bit of a project overview. So Kathryn, could you talk us through that a bit?
Sure. The start of the project, I believe, started before I came on board, but it started with the Canterbury Safety Charter, and Paul Duggan at the Safety Charter had a conversation with somebody about health and safety and the challenges on site, and they said, oh, I think BIM's going to change everything though. And Paul quickly ran back to his computer and Googled BIM, didn't know anything about it, and went, yeah, there's something here, and how come as a health and safety person he didn't know anything about BIM, and started that conversation and found out that, well, the BIM people knew what BIM could do, but they hadn't really thought of it in terms of health and safety. And the health and safety people knew that BIM was used for planning and productivity and whatever on site, but didn't really think that it, or didn't realize that it had an application to what they were doing as health and safety representatives as well. So the story started from that point, and Paul went and got the buy-in from ACC, who are the main funders, MB through University of Canterbury Building Innovation Partnership. So we brought the MB funding in, and since then we pulled together a wide group of industry partners who have all contributed and created a guidance and steering program that has meant that a lot of people who have bits and pieces of the knowledge were able to pull it together into a critical mass and develop that. The original idea was to create a guidance document that we would set out guidelines to how to use BIM for health and safety, but we kind of quickly realized that there's so many different things that you can do with BIM that have an impact on health and safety. So we kind of pivoted a bit and created a web portal that's highlighting some of that guidance, but also a lot of the case studies that we've come across that are showing instances of BIM being used to improve health and safety on real construction projects with real people out there in the industry now.
Thanks, Kathryn. So I think now you might take us through a bit of how you use the portal and yeah, how people in the audience can access this information.
Sure. I'll just share my screen. It's at guidance.bimsafe.nz if you want to take a look at it. You should be able to see my screen there. If I move it across on my other screen, does it still show?
Yep, you can see it.
Great. Okay, so the front page, there's two different kind of chunks of information in the portal, and we've tried to think about how people might want to find out information and who might want to be using it. So one of the key divisions is thinking about the roles of the people who are coming into it. So you can access the guidance based on your role in the industry or the particular role that you're interested in. Each of those has a set of guidance articles sitting behind them. So if we have a look at contractor, subcontractor, for example, that will pop up with a range of the health and safety applications that somebody in that role has an involvement with. And so contractors, subcontractors, thinking about how can I improve project communication for health and safety, jump into that box, and that then provides a range of BIM or technology applications that can be applied into that. So using model visualization, using model interaction, reality capture, time-based planning, all to serve the project communication for the contractor. So if we look into that next level, then you'll find the guidance document that will provide some of the overview of what it is, what it does, what that technology can help with, what its particular uses are, and a bit of the things that you need to think about around the technology or the hardware and software, the model, and a little bit of a look into how you make it happen on a project in terms of the contract or the procurement process, because one of the key things that has come through is that it's so much easier to make it happen if it's in there in the contract. And so starting to hopefully educate some client side thinking as well as what's happening on the site. Mm-hmm. And roles and responsibilities, who's involved, who needs to do things. Training requirements, we haven't gone too much into training requirements because again there's so many different directions you can go with training, and we hope that BIMSafe is a springboard for that, but we're not going to train people into what they need to do. There's a lot of resources available, and we've tried to give a little bit of a look to future directions, but it's kind of exploding at the moment in terms of what technology is doing, so we've only hinted at that. You might have noticed these grey boxes. So each of our technology options, we've got 8 different options on every page. We've only filled in some of them. There's a lot more information out there. We know that people are starting to use, for example, simulation sensors, rule checking for project communication purposes or for hazard identification or whatever health and safety applications we might be looking at. But we haven't had the time or the resources to illustrate all of that, and we don't have the expertise ourselves write about it and to provide that input. So they're still greyed out, but we're hoping that people will work with us to fill in those gaps. One thing I should also mention while I'm looking at the portal is that we've had some really great industry people helping us with the writing. So we've had Carl Fitzpatrick, Robin Finlay, Johannes Dimyadi, who else did we have? Gilbert, help me Blair, what's his last name?
Lost.
Oh, from CBP, I can't read CPB. Sorry, Gilbert, I've forgotten your last name. And Mary Mose, who was at, or has returned to the US, but was working in New Zealand for a while. With help from all of those people and a bit of support from AI, you might see a little bit of AI writing in some of the guidelines. We've filled in some gaps. We've brought people together, and we've produced something that we hope is readable, approachable, and useful to the people in the industry. The other important part of what we've got is not just guidance articles, but those case studies. So I think we have 8 different case study organisations with a few different examples from them. So you'll see Dunedin Hospital Outpatients, ACC Utaputi, DBC Building Services, Helix Global. There's a few others mixed in there, but let's have a look at one of them. A description of what's happening on the project and what they're using BIM for, a particular aspect they're using BIM for, and a brief video that you can look at where the people doing the work are telling you about what they're doing and what the value is and how it's changing the way that they work. We've tried to make them bite-sized, so most of the videos are a couple of minutes long, and pulled out some of the description of what they find is most useful and the lessons that they've learned from using BIM for that particular application. So again, snippets of information so that you don't have to invest a huge amount of time, but it will give you some idea that this is something that you could be doing or something that you could be seeing on the projects that you're working on.
Thanks, Kathryn. I mean, you can see the amount of work and dedication that's gone into it. And I had a quick look before I jumped on here and saw how many people were involved in the group alone. So yeah, you can tell that the work that's been done is across industry as well. Blair, we might come over to you to talk us through case studies, just so people can get a feel for how this is used, how you use it.
Yeah, sure. I think one thing to follow on from Kathryn's wrap there was we weren't setting out to provide a software to use in regards to health and safety on site. You know, we understand that a lot of different contractors are on a different journey or different at different times through their journey in regards to adoption of BIM model information, even softwares to manage those throughout the construction process. So we realized very quickly that it had to be a framework and not a specific element or software. And the other thing is, I think, you know, the industry in regards to modeling processes and software that are provided is a forever changing landscape, right? So we wanted to make sure that we could provide something that could span across that, whatever is brought into the industry and can be adopted at any time. On saying that, we also realise that as the industry changes, we do need to keep up and provide feedback and update this accordingly. So, yeah, the ACC Ōtepoti project in regards to the case study, being the lead on this, was obviously very, well, it is very close to me. When approached by the BIMSafe advisory group, they asked me to come on board, more than happy to do so. And from there, at that particular time of the project, we were in our enabling work, so we had a piling crew on site working through their portion of the project. The separate contractor was to be let for the main build, base build work of the particular project, and so we had a bit of a lead in regards to the BIMSafe probably kicking off and at the start of the base build. So it was great in the fact that when we appointed the main contractor, we had early engagement workshops with them to let them know exactly what was happening from the BIMSafe advisory group and committee, and our objectives and goals, and then we kind of sat back and just fielded a bunch of questions, I guess, because they, to be fair, were actually very good and from a health and safety perspective in regards to their practices on site, but also realised that health and safety through model information was something probably new to them as well. So it was really good to have an open conversation about what the expectations were in regards to coming into the project or even through the project, what kind of things we're looking for, etc. So one of the early elements that we come across, for example, was we had a late change in regards to our stormwater on site, and so through a siphonic stormwater system, there's essentially only one or a couple of massive downpipes which come through the building, and it had to move from the eastern side of site to the western side of site. This meant that our foundation structure all of a sudden had penetrations that needed to go through them where there were none previously, and the team on site were rigorously setting out, reinforcing, and then when this change come into play, it was really good to be able to see, because the team could look in a 3D sense and see exactly what reinforcing and the grillage of foundation beams were on site. But the reality is, this change needs done. The model wasn't really actually being updated quick enough for the change. It was a reactive change we had to make on site. So it was, in that respect, it was probably quite good to see the impact that change has, but also the implications to some of the health and safety. So when you've got changes on site, often it's an unplanned change, and so you have to pivot very quickly. And the reality is, being unplanned, you then need to go take a step back, undertake another task analysis, and figure out that what other risks does this now present to the work in that particular area. So being able to jump into the model and assess that on the fly was fantastic.
So say that if this is all set up, that it actually could potentially, I know you're saying that you could react really quickly when changes are made, but I imagine it can also, you can foresee things coming and actually put things in place before it actually happens. Would that be accurate? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So that's one of the main benefits we found through. So I'll take a step back. So when our main contractor was appointed, Naylor Love, they were really keen, really positive, and kind of grabbed us and really wanted to take or be part of the journey. And so they kitted out one of their site offices with it was a 50-inch touchscreen computer, which allowed the management team, the site team, and also all of the subcontractors to come in and orientate through a model environment, which they'd never really done before. So they've got workers on site where English isn't their first language, reinforcing faster than your eyes can watch, and yet when they find something that's hard to either understand or a change comes, they can easily go into the site office, open up the model and understand it by doing a visual check rather than trying to interpret, English, where things can be kind of misconstrued. So I know for a fact that the reinforcing team on this particular project were so happy to have a model, and they were forever even walking around with 3D printed information to be able to take that to their workplace and action that, mark it up, move it around, get the particular bars they needed and get them in place. I guess another one in regards to the planning side of things is when you've got the likes of foremen, labourers and subbies being able to access that information, they get a better understanding of the information that needs to or not just the information, sorry, but the elements that are forever changing around them through the build. So it might be that once you've finished your foundation, you've got some slabs down, you're going to stand panels, you're going to put some structural steel up. And so when you tie structural steel, often you do that on the ground and you may lift it up with a crane. So it's understanding the spatial constraints as well. The model information can show you what those spatial constraints are, what activities are happening around it. And often management understand that at a high level, but having the model information available on site for the workers to be able to go and see what's happening was really valuable to them. Yeah.
And I mean, all of this sounds incredibly positive and almost future thinking. Can you talk us through some of the challenges that you face specifically with this ACC project?
Yeah, so I think
there might be none.
Oh no. Every construction project has challenges, right? From a client side PM, the main thing we're looking to deal with is identify risk and manage risk appropriately, because we always know risk drives extra cost and impact on program. So whenever there's change, and that's often led through maybe information that wasn't clear enough at the start of the project. So a request for information's come out, it's clarified some things, and so maybe there's a resequencing of works. So when there's a resequencing of works and you've had for example, a model that's been generated and it shows you an erection sequence in a specific way, when that changes, you need to go off and have that resequencing essentially redone. And so that's time and that's money that often doesn't happen as quick as the works need to happen on site.
Yeah.
So that was something that I think the construction industry deals with on a daily basis, and I think that's always something that's going to be potentially something that the industry struggles with, trying to upkeep the model for a particular construction sequence and methodology on site. But as I say, the software's getting better. Integrations between softwares as well. The Naylor Love team, to their credit, model the model information wasn't a contract deliverable or a client deliverable for the end of the project, but they took it upon themselves to ensure that their subbies created accurate shop drawings for reinforcing precast steel, and so when they brought their shop drawings into the model environment, they were more reliable, I guess, than some of the consultants' drawings. Once those RFIs that come through and little tweaks and changes are made, they've got a more accurate set of documentation on site or model information on site that they can refer to, which is fantastic.
Yeah. So in terms of what would you say kind of the overall impact of BIMSafe has been on projects that you've been involved in?
It's an interesting one, because we weren't really too sure what challenges we would encounter. We had a goal, obviously, and that was to try and make a difference in regards to health and safety the use of models on site. So we were really lucky to have an engaged contractor that really did engage in this process. But we understand that it will be different for a lot of people. So that's why the framework's really been created to try and adapt to anyone,
Sure.
no matter how or where they're at with their journey and adoption of the 3D space. Yeah.
Can I jump in with the challenges? One of the challenges that's commonly identified if you read any of the academic literature or international case studies, one of the big challenges that always comes up with this is resistance to change, and how hard it is to push these changes through once you get onto site. And so we were interested in looking at how that played out and who we got resistance from. And I have to say that we've had incredible response from almost all of the subcontractors, and absolutely from the main contractor. Everybody has been so keen to get their hands on the model, to see what they can do with the model, open to using it in different ways that they haven't had opportunities to before. And the stuff. So we've got a couple of examples in our case studies of older users or new users coming to it, because again, that generational divide is another thing that people say is a potential challenge, and we really haven't seen that anybody and everybody can make use of this tool if they're open to it and work together, learning from each other, which is another big thing that we're trying to achieve with this project, is to share that experience and share the knowledge so that people can see what the possibilities are and make use of them.
So that's a great segue into the idea of industry input. Blair or Kathryn, could you talk the audience through those that were involved and how industry was consulted and advised of this project, and how people, initially kind of put forward their thoughts, and then maybe we'll touch on how people can still contribute.
Let me share the screen and I'll show you who's involved because I can't remember everybody. There's so many contributors here. So if we look, we have our steering group who oversee the project, but then if we get into the advisory group, this is the range of people. There's Blair in the middle, right? But CBP, Naitahu, who's the client for the ACC Ōtepoti project. Naylor Love, of course, the main contractor, but Pete Lockhart was a real cheerleader for BIMSafe. Auckland Airport, Becca, there's people across the industry and support from everybody universally that we've talked to about it. So it's a real industry effort by the industry for the industry is what we're hoping to achieve.
Do you have anything to add there, Blair?
No, I think it's fantastic. It's great to actually bring the team up and kind of show their faces, because it has been a journey. I think while we provide our own feedback as industry professionals, we always seek advice from peers as well. And so I guess it's worth mentioning, one thing we do have is a live survey, which I think will be shared after this webinar. But always keen to hear people's thoughts in regards to health and safety, their own experiences in regards to health and safety, and the adoption of BIM throughout. So I think we've been. I think that the advisory group and the launch of the portal only in the last couple of weeks has been testament to the project to date. And while the ACC Ōtepoti project is going to be wrapping up the base build in the next couple of months, this is something that will definitely live on.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of how people, I imagine now that it's been pushed out, the biggest hope is that people use it and explore. You know, how can people feed back to you guys about what they're experiencing, and even, you know, if people have case studies that they want to share, how can they do that?
Yeah, absolutely. We do want to fill in those greyed out gaps and add to our case studies and continue that sharing process. So there's a link on the website to contact us. You can send through details, or just any of the people involved will be keen to hear more, learn more, and hopefully develop those additional resources and share that information.
Thanks, Kathryn. So I guess now the big question is, what are the next steps? Where to from here? Kathryn, I'll go to you first.
Well, one of the sad things is that although this was started by the Canterbury Safety Charter, that's unfortunately wrapping up at the end of this year because they haven't been able to secure any ongoing funding. So the hosting of the portal itself is being transferred to Chasms, so keeping the health and safety information together for the industry. The project concludes in November formally, but we're looking still, and between now and then, looking to add to that material, to that resource, and we're hoping that there will be enough uptake and an interest and value in it for the industry that there will be support ongoing beyond that, but that's still to be seen.
Yeah, and a real resource for people ongoing. So it's great that it's going to Chas NZ and that it will still stay alive for as long as it possibly can.
Yeah.
Blair, in terms of next steps for RCP, for BIMSafe, what do you see as kind of the next phase?
So I guess firstly, with the ACCOD project wrapping up, we'll look to continue that right through to the end and wrap that up with a good lessons learned, and that will then come through into the portal with a few other video case study type videos, and from there I think, you know, we'll obviously continue to champion this myself through RCP. I think this is a fantastic venture that we all need to consider and drive through our projects. We want to make sure, you know, I think health and safety is something that's really been elevated over the last 5-10 years significantly, but you know, we want to make sure that people go home safely, and I think the more we can adopt the tools that are being developed, then the better chance we have of that becoming a reality. So we all know that the design and model portion of a project is, you know, growing and developing at light speed. So we want to make sure that we harness that and be able to bring that through into the health and safety forum.
Thanks, Blair. As Blair said earlier, we will be sending out the links to the different web links, and as well as the survey that is still live, just to help with your feedback. So thank you both so much for your time today. It was great to hear the ins and outs of the BIMSafe project, and I guess for the audience, you know, it's the uptake, right? As Kathryn said, it's for the industry, to be used by the industry. So I really encourage you all to go and have a look at the website, have a look at the portal, see the great information that's there, and if you guys can contribute in any way, your feedback, you can do that via the website. Thank you guys.
BIMSafe.nz.
There you go. There you go. I should have had that off the top of my tongue. Yeah, really appreciate you, Blair and Kathryn, for joining today. And I'm just going to do a bit of a shout out for New Zealand Institute of Building. We have our New Zealand Building People Awards coming up on the 30th of August. So if you haven't bought your tickets, please do so soon, because I think it is coming around fast. But yeah, thank you both for your time today, and we'll see you next time. Ka kite anō.
Thanks, Anna.
Thanks, Kathryn.